County that stands the chance to see the strongest winds out of what we've just noted all across that area. Again, it's not a tornado warning, but it is producing some strong wind, upwards of 60 miles per hour. In some cases, maybe even higher. So 30 in the morning, it bears sort of watching and being prepared so you can know what's happening. And that's the deal. You can see that warning has expired. That was leaning up against the Louisville area. We'll see if that gets reissued. In fact, it's about to come out. They're going to issue one for Jefferson, Harrison, Floyd. You see it goes all the way across the city. So NOAA weather radios, the Wave Weather app, everything is going off at this point because of the warning for Clark, Floyd in Indiana, Jefferson and Oldham in Kentucky. That's that same area that we're watching for the strong wind. We haven't had it yet. It's minutes away. It will be moving in. There's the potential for 50, 60 mile per hour gust. This could cause some problems as it moves closer to us. Again, lots of thunder and lightning with this. Let me just put the bolts on here so you can see that lightning that we've been watching on the SkyTrack cameras. You can see that. But again, that is weakening. That's a good sign because as that lightning eases, that's an indicator that the storms are gradually easing and letting up. We like that trend, and that trend will continue. These storms will continue to weaken. They're not going to continue to strengthen as the night goes on. They will be in the weakening phase. It's just that they're not quite there yet. And that's the reason the warnings keep getting issued down the line, is because we still have enough wind energy brought to the surface to where we are seeing some damage, whether that's trees down or power lines down. Maybe because the trees are down on the power lines, regardless of how it happens. That's what we've noted across the area. Let's go over to Tawana, see if she has any additional reports as we track these storms right here into the metro area. Tawana?
Yeah, just got off the phone with multiple ISP offices, and so far the only report that I've gotten in from them right now is some trees on the roadway in 145 near Airport Road. They're currently working on trying to get that cleared out. So that's the latest thing I've gotten from ISP in terms of that. Still working on getting a little bit more information from the Orange County area, but it's still so difficult to get through with them because there's so much going on right now. Of course, we got the reports earlier from that viewer of those trees down, those large branches down. So we're continuing to get more from that and working to get a little bit more information in that area. So that's the latest that I've got. I'm still making these calls. Thank you for everyone who has been sending in your reports this morning. It's been incredibly helpful. Keep it coming, keep it going, and make sure you're staying safe, especially for those of you out in front of these storms. It's better to get in your safe places now, as Kevin and Jessica have been saying throughout the early morning hours, and I'll work together a little bit more for you, Kevin.
All right, appreciate that. Jessica, what do you have?
Yeah, we've now seen about a third of customers in Orange County in Indiana, the same spot that we've seen a lot of damage reports, where we picked up a lot of those strong wind gusts when we were first joining you earlier this evening. We now have almost, we're just over 4,600 customers without power there. That's about 38% of total customers. That's about 12,000 they serve there, just over. So quite a few power outages right now in Orange County. So far, that's where we're seeing the worst of the reports. In parts of Crawford County too, about 102 customers without power. That's out of about 8,000. So not quite as high of numbers there, but of course we did see, I think, the stronger gusts in places like near Paoli and Orange County. So we're still seeing that number increase. It's almost like every time I check, it continues to go up. And of course, we're going to watch for more of those reports. And I really think the wind is one of the big components that created some of these power outages so far.
Yeah, and when we look back at some of that rotation we saw moving through Orange County, very well could have been a touchdown. We won't know that until the Weather Service surveys the damage, but not far from French Lick earlier, we had the inbound, outbound winds pretty close together. That is now pushing off to the east, moving closer to Louisville. We are under the severe thunderstorm warning for the northern two-thirds of Jefferson County. So that goes all the way down toward J-Town, working your way toward Okolona, back up to Louisville, Portland, and then stretches back across the river, almost all of Floyd County, almost all of Clark County, all of Oldham County under the severe thunderstorm warning at this point. Strong wind, the main threat with that. We mentioned at last check on that northern storm, which is where we had the greatest threat for the tornado earlier as it moved across Du Bois, Washington counties, Orange, and then Washington. That's up towards Scottsburg, and that's where we said we had a strong push of wind moving through. So let's check the velocity on that again, and that is where we continue to see some strong winds move through, and that's across Scott County, Indiana. That's going to be a push that's now taking it through Scottsburg, Austin, moving over toward Worcester, and eventually into western parts of Jefferson County, Indiana. So that's where we would continue to see that storm track. Our winds here in Louisville obviously have not gone up much. South at 8, no gust on the last check. That's going to be changing within the half hour. Winds will eventually go up for us. Now, will they be severe? Not for everybody, but perhaps for some, especially, let me show you, where we see this bowing out. We can see the bows a little bit easier on the reflectivity. So let me go back to that. And then let's just kind of zoom back in. You'll notice also that it is becoming a little more broken. This is another sign of weakening. So some good news. That trend is continuing. So I suspect that as we work the energy out of these storms moving off to the east, that things will gradually calm as these settle off to the south, all right? So that's some good news. Let's zoom back in. We'll zoom into the warning that we have. We mentioned the Boeing area. We have one in Scott County. There's more wind as you work your way down into far western, well, right along I-65 in Clark County, and then into Floyd County, just across the river. So we have pockets of wind in here that we're looking at. We could see winds 40, 50 miles an hour for several places, as high as 60 miles an hour for a few, and that's where we would have the greatest potential for damage. Otherwise, it's just a rainmaker and some gusty winds, maybe some rumbles of thunder, but even the lightning is letting up just a bit. I'll put that on for folks that may still be up watching the storms with us. You can see that lightning is still there. It's not gone, but it has certainly eased up just a bit over the course of time, and that's a sign that things are beginning to weaken just a bit. So that's our lightning indicator. Let's go back to the radar. I'm going to put this into motion so you can see that it is moving at a pretty good clip. We'll just play this. You can see as those storms move in, they are sort of rotating to the just notice that little rotate up. That's where we had the rotation. Boom, there it is across Orange County, right here. Boom. And so we had from French Lick through Paoli up towards Salem, where we had that little couplet showing up on the velocity. I can put the velocity on so you can see that as well. And now let's just play that. It's going to be a little tougher to see for you, but you'll notice. Move pretty fast, tough to see, but that's the same storm that likely caused the damage from French Lick to Paoli, working your way towards Salem now in Scottsburg. That's the trajectory of the strongest wind, and that's what we've been pointing out over the course of the last half hour or so. Back to our reflectivity here as we go to the radar, and then looking at our SkyTrack camera, New Albany, we can show that. You'll see the rain is almost sideways, so the rain's picking up in New Albany. Going to be moving toward us here in the downtown area within a matter of minutes. We also have the wind picking up just a bit as well. So our SkyTrack cameras are valuable through storms like this because we can get that real time, that ground truth that we talked about. So when we look at these camera views, we've got Corydon, we've got one in Jeff, one downtown, one over in New Albany. We've got one up in Starlight. So as you work your way across the metro, we get a lot of camera views. That doesn't count the ones we have in E-Town and Bardstown and Simpsonville. So many views on these storms as they push their way in. It's helpful in emergency weather and severe weather. It's also very helpful in winter weather. We can see what's happening. I'll show you that view in just a second. Let's zoom out. I'm going to just pan the radar back over. The storms are just now moving into the metro. And let's go back down because I want to make sure we have Scott County in there. That's good. Again, the warnings continue, the one to the north until 2 o'clock, the one off to the south, that's a severe thunderstorm warning that includes the city of Louisville. That one will last a little longer as we go past the 2 a.m. hour. That goes until 2:15. It's mainly a wind maker moving right toward downtown, but weakening just a bit. That's the general trend you're hearing me say over and over. Everything that we're looking at shows signs of weakening, so some good news, but it's still strong enough to produce winds that would be capable of downing a tree, or two in pockets, and also creating some power outages, which we've seen. So I'm going to go back to the velocity, and I think what we did a while ago was very helpful as we just kind of worked our way along this line, looking for those pockets of heavier wind. Tough to see here. Again, the SkyTrack views. Let's go over to Jessica because she has those cameras behind her. And Jessica, you can just point out, go through some of those cameras and just show the wind because that's a visual story of kind of what we're going to see downtown. Gusty winds, yes, but are they tearing down the trees and power lines? No, not everywhere.
Right, and the flags, that's always one of our telltale signs that we can see some gusty winds across the area, and that's in New Albany, of course, where we just saw it looked like sideways rain that was coming down. And I'll also change our view to our Park Place SkyTrack camera to see if we can start to see that leading edge of the storm coming through. We were seeing some flashes of lightning. So far, not seeing a whole lot from that camera just yet. And of course, we have the harbors. Sometimes we can kind of see the storm structure moving. You can see a little bit moving over closer to the downtown Louisville skyline, but really this New Albany SkyTrack camera, that is one of the more remarkable ones there. You can see it shaking around quite a bit. The rain flowing sideways from those strong wind gusts. So that is what we're seeing right now. Of course, this is our New Albany SkyTrack camera, and we're going to watch for more reports. It looks like a couple of them coming in right now. Funnel clouds spotted north of Kellersville Road. Again, this is going to be in Du Bois County, in Jasper, St. Charles near middle school, some trees down, Maple Grove on Portersville Road, a tree down there. So again, this is just, this is in Du Bois County. That was a part of that same storm that was powerful, that was moving through a couple of our counties that we had near Orange County, where a lot of our power is out there. And I'll go ahead and give you a quick update too of the power outages. So if you are along the leading edge of these storms, it's a good idea to make sure you have a flashlight handy, or if you've been charging your devices, because we have seen these power outages only exponentially go up here over the last couple of minutes. So looks like Orange County is still the worst. There's still, of course, a delay when it comes to some of our power outages, as we've been mentioning. About 2% out in places like Harrison County in Indiana, about 621 customers. And then also looks like near Salem, 18% in Washington County in Indiana. That's where we have almost 5,000 customers without power there. It looks like Tawana might have something for us too.
Yeah, and you're just saying that there was power out in Salem. I got a viewer to confirm that he's no longer with power. He said he's safe, he's fine. So some good news right there, but still without power overnight. Power out as well in Greenville, Indiana. And we got reports of a tree on a vehicle. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like anybody was in that vehicle, but a tree on a vehicle that is going to be on Main Street, West Main Street in Paoli, just inside the city limits. So still getting reports in of some damage in some spots. So certainly continuing to work to get a little bit more information with all of that this morning. But thankfully so far no injuries. So hopefully that stays that way. Kevin, that's some good news so far this morning, and working to get a little bit more information on some more things happening in the Orange County Paoli area. Kevin.
Okay, as it seems, we have damage out of each of those locations. Could have been a tornado, could have been straight line winds. We won't know that until the damage surveys come in. We continue to get reports. One of the latest ones is a tree through the roof of a home in parts of Du Bois County. We are tracking the severe weather moving into Louisville, but it has weakened substantially across the area. I'm not even sure we're going to wind up seeing these warnings get extended any further. In Louisville, the rain is just now picking up downtown. The severe thunderstorm warning for Louisville and also Oldham County, so the chunk of Jefferson County, Clark County, Harrison County, Oldham County, we're under that warning until 2:15, so about another half hour on that severe thunderstorm warning. The one to the north expires at 2 o'clock. That's the one where we had the strong winds moving through Scottsburg, Austin, Vienna, moving across Scott County, Indiana. That's approaching western parts of Jefferson County, Indiana, and that will be making its way closer to Madison. But again, I mentioned that we are seeing this storm weaken just a bit, but it has produced enough wind where we have already received power outages out of Scott County. So let's just zoom into that and we'll take a closer view. We're moving through Wooster. We're approaching Lexington. There's Swanville. This is going to work off to the east as this storm moves at about 50 miles per hour. When we look at the velocity, we're looking for pockets of strong wind or rotation. we can see the brighter color showing up. So we've got pockets of strong wind moving into western parts of Jefferson County, not far and approaching Wakefield at this point. Here's Madison, just for some reference in Jefferson County. Swanville, Lexington, this is in Scott County, Lexington, Indiana, moving towards Swanville across the county line. That would be another push of strong wind. So that's where we're, again, seeing possibly power outages that would take place in those stronger pushes of wind. When we drag this down, we're just focused on the outer edge of the storm. The strongest winds have passed Nav and Otisco, moving toward New Washington. You'd be next in line. Skylight, Indiana, down to Goshen. That's Kentucky, Skylight, Kentucky, Goshen. We're in Oldham County here. Prospect, already seeing some of the strongest winds approach your area, downtown. So now that we have the storm pushing across Louisville, let me zoom out. We'll go back to our home view, put the reflectivity back on. And there we have it. And you can see the strongest of the storms hugging the river, pushing through. We see some of those storms, again, weakening, more broken than they were earlier. Heavy rain causing problems with the potential for flash flooding. The severe weather threat, while it is easing, it is not reduced enough to wipe out the warnings. That would be nice. Then we could all go to bed. It's going to happen. It's just happening. It's going to happen probably as the next hour unfolds. Half hour to 45 minutes, I'd say. We're in pretty good shape as these storms move off to the east and gradually weaken. The strongest, again, remains to the north. Here in Louisville, while we do have some wind with these storms, it's not all that strong. So we continue to see that part of the system weaken as it moves through. So for Louisville, yes, we have the severe thunderstorm warning. It goes until 2:15. That will continue moving to the east. The northern part of this packs the greater punch. So we continue the severe thunderstorm warning for Clark, Jefferson, and Scott counties until 2 o'clock. You'll see them trim this up, taking out parts of Clark County, taking out parts of Harrison County. The storm's already passed those zones. So you'll see for us, it's still going to include Jefferson, Clark, Oldham counties, and that warning will go until 2 o'clock this morning. I'll zoom back into that general area as we continue to watch the two warnings that we have. One's to the north, again, strongest winds there now moving into western Jefferson County. The telltale will be, will this get extended farther to the east across the rest of Jefferson County, Indiana, including Madison and Hanover, northern parts of Trimble County, and perhaps even into Carroll County, Kentucky. That will be one area of concern. It is weakening, so I'm not sure that will even get extended. The southern part, now that we have the rain moving into Louisville, it too is weakening. So when you look at the big board on what we have going on, we have the two severe thunderstorm warnings, one for about another 30 minutes. That's the one for Clark, Floyd, pretty much out of Floyd, Clark, Jefferson, Oldham counties. And then the other one's going to be allowed to expire farther to the north. It includes Scott County and Jefferson County, Indiana, for another 14 minutes. When we had those tornado warnings earlier, you had to get low, needed to get in your tornado safe place. At this point, the tornado threat is easing as well. We only have severe thunderstorm warnings in place. Both of those, while they include the metro area and parts of southern Indiana, have weakened. All of the storms have areas of lightning, but even as much lightning as there is, we've seen a weakening trend. Let's go over to Jessica, who's keeping up some of the power outages and other reports.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. You can see where the strongest of the winds have taken place because near Paoli in Orange County, Indiana, we also have Washington and already in Scott County too. That's where we have some of the more higher number of power outages there with some of the customers. So about 10% out. That's just over 1,500 customers in Scott County in Indiana, also near Salem. So if you are in Salem and you are without power, it's likely due to some of the more powerful wind gusts, whether that was for the straight line winds or if it was from some of the rotation or if it was a tornado. Regardless, nearly 5,000 customers without power there, about 18%. So that's still a pretty large number. And then, of course, the highest numbers we've seen so far have been in Orange County, about 40% without power, almost half, almost 5,000 without power in Orange County.
All right, we're getting reports closer to the metro. This is going to be Clark County, Indiana, and this is trees down across the county. Fire and police units are en route to I-65 southbound at the 17-mile marker for a large tree across the interstate there. So, again, Clark County, Indiana, starting to feel the effects of this wind that we've mentioned. So, even though it was weakening, it's not weakened enough, and that was the whole concern of what would happen as these storms move closer to the metro. We'll be watching the wind speeds. We have anemometers in place. We'll be able to get real-time measurements. But again, Clark County, I-65, 17-mile marker, that's where we know we have a large tree across the interstate. I'll put the radar on. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning in the background. That, again, is already past places like Borden and Henryville, even past Sellersburg. So the worst of the wind is across 65. That's obvious. We've got the trees down across parts of Clark County. That's moving into northeast Jefferson County, western parts of Oldham County, and downtown Louisville, including Portland and Shively, seeing some of those stronger winds move in. When we talk about those pockets of wind where we have the strongest potential wind available, again, that would be over toward the Goshen area, perhaps down toward Prospect, and then up into western parts of Jefferson County, Indiana, and then the far eastern parts of Clark County, not far from New Washington. So those are areas of where on the radar we can see those stronger pockets of wind, as we've mentioned. Just pan this down so you can see Jefferson County where we're looking at that. So moving out of Lexington, Indiana, that's eastern parts of Scott County, into western Jefferson County, from Wakefield down to Saluda. That will quickly move back across the river into northern Trimble County, not under a warning at this point. So the warning for Jefferson, Oldham, Shelby, Trimble, southern Trimble, continues, and that will go until 2:15. So I'm curious to hear more about what's going on 65 and in Clark County, because that's a direct reflection of what may happen here in the city. So let's go over to Tawana to see if she has any additional reports on the I-65 tree that was at mile marker 17. So that takes you just up toward the Memphis area.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm looking at, even if you can see behind me right here. So this is one shot what's happening on 65 right now. This is from INDOT, from one of their cameras there. So certainly seeing a lot of police activity in this area as they're continuing to potentially work and clear this out. So this is just one of the scenes. If you are going to be one of those people traveling this morning, if you could hold off on that, let the storms pass and then go, that would be the best idea. But still working at a little bit more information on this right now. INDOT is not reporting anything, but certainly seeing a lot of police activity showing up on some of those cameras right now in parts of Clark County. I'm going to continue to work to find out a little bit more information with this and potentially call ISP and see if they can get me any more information as well. Kevin?
Okay, a wind seems to be the big issue that we've seen throughout the evening here and into the early overnight hours. We have a number of power outages. Can't rule out additional power outages, but the overall trend is that these storms are slowly weakening, and that trend will continue. So we're not going to go backwards on that, but it just takes a little bit of time to get these storms below severe limits. We have seen massive damage out of Orange County, Du Bois County, weakened a little bit as it moved through Washington and into Scott, but we still have had enough damage that we have a number of power outages up that way. And then even on the southern part of this, and let me go back to the reflectivity here, because even on this edge, so now approaching the airport, we should start to be seeing some of the real-time wind information in, even though it's weakened substantially for us at the airport, still a little higher as you work your way into southern Oldham County and northern and northeastern parts of Jefferson County. Let's go to Jessica. I know I'm focused on Louisville and the metro here, mainly because of the large population. We have also had a number of power outages areas to our north.
Yes, I was just trying to pick up some of the wind gusts to see if we've had any major reports just yet. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit on power outages, because you'll see really where the swath of the strongest winds have been, and that's where we've had the highest number of power outages. So the darker shades you see are where we have a higher percentage of those power outages. So far, the highest has been in Orange County. And I'll give you another view too. 42%. That number continues to go up. Power is out as well this is from Tawana in Crestwood, Kentucky. and that's going to be from a viewer on Facebook. So as always, we appreciate your reports. Orange County, we're starting to see, in Floyd County, Indiana, Clark County, we're starting to see more power outage numbers there, about 9%. That's roughly 4,400 people without power. Overall, customers served are about 49,000. So we've continued to see these numbers go up, and we'll likely still see that. Just goes to show you got to make sure you're prepared and have those devices all charged up and ready to go, just in case you are without power, especially if you don't know how long it's going to be out for. Kevin.
All right, and I was just looking with the LG&E app here to see if any in the metro have lost power, at least at this point. Now, Crestwood, that's getting pretty close to us. That's just across the river over here in Oldham County, so it's along that leading edge. So we should be seeing, and there's our latest gust. So I was waiting for that to pop on, but it was just 23 miles an hour at the airport, so it would have just hit. You can see this is the Watterson, this is the Gene Snyder, the airport's right here. So we just picked up that gust at the airport. That's tolerable. We can take anywhere up to 40 miles an hour, usually without any major problems. So that's, again, starting to weaken. That trend continues. There are pockets, and we noted that Crestwood without power. Some power outages can occur with lower wind speeds if trees have been compromised from storms past. Maybe there are branches that are just hanging there, and a 20-30 mile an hour wind shakes it out, comes down on a power line. You got a power outages. So there's a number of ways to get power outages in these storms, but nonetheless, the trend is important, and that is that these storms continue to weaken. We have the severe thunderstorm warning in place until 2:15. That's another 20 minutes across metro Louisville, now moving across the eastern part of Jefferson County, Middletown, J-Town, just north of Okolona, but again, not all that strong off to the south. It's farther to the north where we have those stronger winds, and that's what we continue to see as we work our way off to the south. Now let's go back to the north, and I'll point out that we have had strong winds moving across Jefferson County, Indiana, and that is a place where now that continues to weaken. The velocity will show that. Those pockets are still in there, so we still have some strong wind moving out of that warning. So even into an area where there is no warning, across northern Trimble County, that's north of Bedford, again, it's windy, but it's not severe limits. So we continue to track that to the east, no warning. Good news, weakening trend. And I think that's going to be the case. This may be the last gasp of what we're seeing as it moves through, because these storms, oops, hit the draw. Let me go back to our radar. There it is. We continue to see that weakening phase take place as it moves across parts of western Jefferson County, Indiana, back into Oldham County, all the way down into Jefferson County. We'll go back to our home view here so you can see that, and I'll put it into motion. And you should be able to notice the weakening trend as we look back over the last couple of hours. And there it is. You can see those storms were much stronger as they came across Illinois and into Indiana. And where you have the heaviest rain training over that same area, we have the flash flooding. That remains a concern up there because it's still raining, even though it's starting to end. And then we had what we call those little squiggles in the line, or that where you had that bowling ball effect where it pinwheels around. That was the area of main concern. You'll watch it right there, and I'll point it out again. Here it comes, right there. That's where we had that possible tornado, Orange County, Washington County damage. And that matches completely with where we have the strongest or the most number of power outages. So we're down to the final 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. This one will expire at 2 o'clock, 3 more minutes on this one. And this one is across eastern parts of Scott County, western Jefferson County, northern Clark County. That one will expire at 2 o'clock and will not be extended because it would have already been the case. We also have the one across metro Louisville and Oldham County that's in place until 2:15, and likewise will likely not get extended as long as this trend continues, and that should certainly be the case. Still seeing some damage reports coming out of Du Bois County. They seem to be among the hardest hit, along with Orange County. But this time of night, it's tough to get reports, so we rely just on the emergency personnel. Let's go over to Joanna. She's been keeping an eye on all of your comments and making phone calls to emergency managers and area 911 centers to see what's the real picture of what's happening this early morning hour.
Yeah, just got off the phone with ISP Sellersburg. So we have a number of large limbs down between the 10 and the 12-mile marker. This is going to be on 65, so near the Sellersburg area. And also what we were hearing on 65, got more information on that, a wreck at the 17-mile marker. So this is going to be in between the Memphis and the Henryville exits. So what apparently happened, according to dispatch, a tree fell as the storms moved by. A semi apparently veered to try to maybe not hit that tree, and that caused the crash in that area and took out a guardrail there. So it's going to take them some time to get that cleaned up. She wasn't sure exactly how long this would take, but certainly going to be a busy area. So if anybody's traveling near there, certainly going to see those delays already showing up, and continue to keep an eye on that for this morning. So once again, that wreck is going to be the 17-mile marker on 65. So this is going to be between the Memphis and the Henryville exits where that tree came down and potentially caused that semi to crash. Kevin?
All right, appreciate that very much. Again, when we were talking about the tree on top of the interstate, now we have more information on that. Semi slides in, tries to avoid that, hits the guardrail. Now we've got traffic problems that'll probably take you into the morning rush, depending on how bad that is. The best news we have to deliver is the message we've been sending over the last half hour or so, and that is, things are easing up. We first noted the lightning count going down. We then noticed the more broken area on the reflectivity. We then saw less in terms of velocity. So all signs point to a weakening trend with these storms as they continue to move through. In Louisville, our latest gust from the airport, 40 miles an hour. Remember a while ago, we were at 23, so we could handle up to 40. That's what we're seeing now in Louisville. That was the strongest wind gusts that we've had from the airport. You can see additional storms and those wind gusts moving across Oldham County. Let me pause the radar. I'll just stop it there, and then we can zoom in. So in general, the trend is good. This is the only warning we have. It's in place for 15 more minutes. Many areas across Metro Louisville could hear the heavy rain falling. Maybe you're just now waking up. We've been tracking severe weather all night since before midnight across the area. We had tornado warnings to our north. That included parts of Du Bois, Orange County, Washington County in Indiana. And here we are in Louisville with a severe thunderstorm warning that includes Metro Louisville as well as Oldham County. Again, it is easing a bit. We still have the heavy rain. We still have some lightning and thunder around. But for the most part, the wind's 40 miles an hour, enough to wake you up, but not enough to do a lot of damage. Might blow the patio furniture around a little bit. But just keep in mind that this trend is good because it's not going to reverse. I mean, while we could see a pocket of heavy wind here or there, the general trend will be, as this moves across parts of Henry County, Shelby County, to continue to weaken that. So if you're watching us from those areas, down in, say, Mount Washington, Taylorsville, Shelbyville, Eminence, Newcastle, wherever you may be watching there, the trend is to weaken this as it moves into your area. So, yeah, there could be some thunder and lightning, winds 25 to 35 miles an hour, but the trend, again, to take the storm chances down in terms of intensity. When we continue to see what we're looking at across our area, we do have some pockets of the heavy wind that we've mentioned, and we'll kind of pan this around. This is the only warning we have, but additional storms continue back out across southern Harrison County. I see along 64, as Jessica's taking a closer view, we still see a pocket of heavy wind moving closer to Crawford County. This is going to be right along the interstate there, Jess.
Yeah, and Crawford County already has quite a few customers without power, so not really ideal to see this little pocket. It's where you have that bright shade of green, and it looks like near Siberia, right along I-64, just outside of Crawford County, but I have a feeling over the next couple of radar scans, it will likely work its way into the county. I also do want to give an update on some of our power outage numbers from LG&E specifically. I've been refreshing the page quite a bit. So far, it says just 404 customers without power. But that was last updated at about 149. So that was several minutes ago. And we also, this area, it's going to be near the I-71 and the Gene Snyder interchange, kind of near the Costco, near the paddock shops. That's where we have a pretty large cluster of folks without power there, and that's where we had several reports all the way up to Crestwood and Prospect. So that's where we've seen a large number of those power outages, specifically in Jefferson County near Louisville, in the Louisville area, all the way towards Oldham County too. And again, there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll likely get some more of those updated numbers and increasing numbers, unfortunately, over the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think with sunrise tomorrow, we'll really get a good idea of just how much damage there's been. I mean, we called into the 911 center. They were so busy they couldn't take the call, understandably, if you're that busy. And we continue to see and hear, not only through the power outages, but through people who live there, that power is out, trees are down, structures are damaged. We've had trees gone through roofs of homes, apartment complexes with the roof peeled back. So, again, what has unfolded tonight is still a little murky or unclear. What we continue to track are a weakening, thankfully, line of showers and thunderstorms that's now broken that will continue to move across eastern Jefferson County, southern Jefferson County, including Okolona, and across Oldham County. Again, moving out of the warning area that expires in 10 minutes. I'm not certain that this will get extended. In fact, with the weakening nature of this, it's most likely that it will not. We continue to see damage reports coming in from so many of the emergency managers across parts of Du Bois and Orange counties at this time. So that's really now starting to pick up. And that storm moved through there roughly about an hour or so ago. So it gives you an idea of the lag time that we see in some of these reports. And some of them won't be realized until tomorrow morning. You just can't get to them all at this time of night. It's not even safe to do in some cases if power lines are down. All right, let's go over to Tawana. She's keeping up with some of the viewer comments on our social streams, as well as making calls to so many. I see you've got the Trimark cameras or the IDOT cameras up in Indiana.
Yeah, I'm still keeping an eye on what's happening over in that particular area. So once again, for those of you who maybe just be tuning in right now, so it looks like 65 southbound. This is a wreck near the 17-mile marker. Slide slightly out of the way. Let me go this way. 17-mile marker. This is in between the Memphis and the Henryville exits. This is where a tree came down. A semi veered to not hit it and caused that crash and took out a guardrail. So they're working on clearing that scene right now. Multiple limbs down across the 65 area near Sellersburg as well on the roadway. So once again, this morning, as we have these storms moving through, we're running into a situation where it's dark, it's early in the morning, there are trees and limbs down. So this is just a reminder to take it slow if you are traveling this morning. I know some of you just have to travel, and that's just how it is, and I completely understand that. But you're going to have to take it slow. And even later on this morning, before that sun comes up, you're still going to run into a situation where if you're moving too quickly, you can run up on a tree, some limbs down, it can cause damage to you, to your vehicle. So you want to make sure that you're not doing that. Continue to work in a little bit more information on what's coming in from our Paoli area. So working on this. And this scene right now, this is actually on the Waterston Expressway. This is right near the Shelbyville Road exit. I've been trying to keep an eye on that, working to get a little bit more information. According to Trimark, it's just police activity in this area. So we've been trying to work, and the left lane is blocked. No word on if this is a crash, if this is just somebody pulled over. So I'm working to get a little bit more information on that. But you certainly see that rain just coming down, and everyone just moving very slow in that area this morning. So certainly busy on the roads as well, even though there's not a lot of people out in the roads. Jessica, you got a little bit more information for us as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly tell you guys an updated report from LG&E. About 4,000